So today I'm going to do a tutorial on underpainting. I have really bad winter allergies right now, so my voice is like extremely nasally and raspy. I'm sorry about that. This is not an entirely new concept, although I do think it has a lot of virality right now. Specifically, I think because of Hailey Bieber. She's definitely like the makeup muse of the moment. And her makeup artist, Mary Phillips, is the one who's kind of been spearheading this technique and, you know, really getting people to test and try this out. And the thing about the underpainting technique is that it really does give this kind of nice, natural, flawless finish. You can see with Hailey Bieber, she's always got this like really pretty, soft ethereal glow, and the contour is drastically different from our, you know, really intense contours that we've seen in the past. Now, this concept isn't entirely new. This is JLo doing her contour routine. She did a video with Vogue and called it her light bulb contour. She does her own version of underpainting in this, and she actually learned this technique from the great Kevin Aquan. I'm gonna show you how you can kind of take the underpainting technique and make it something for every day. But with that being said, Mary also does do Kendall Jenner's makeup a lot of the time. I think Kendall is a good example of also kind of taking the underpainting to a little bit more of a soft glam aesthetic. Like Kendall definitely goes for more of like a soft matte, little bit more coverage on the skin when you compare that to Hailey Bieber. And then with JLo, she obviously always just looks really flawless and airbrushed. So I also wanted to kind of take this, I'm looking at images so I can remember what I wanted to say, but I also wanted to kind of show you how you can make this routine work for you, specifically if you don't necessarily have the best skin. I mean, you know me, I've got a lot of post-acne hyperpigmentation, and it's taken me a lot of practice to get this routine to work for me, because with certain parts of it, the hyperpigmentation will kind of show through, and I want to show you how I've kind of tweaked this underpainting technique to fit my face and come out consistently every time. Because if you're not careful, you can end up with like blush all over the face or bronzer all over the face, and this is just kind of my take on it. So first thing I'm going to start off with is the Rhode Glazing Milk. I really like this all year round, but especially during the winter because it's the thickest like toning moisturizer that I have, and I feel like for dry skin this is really nice. Been using tretinoin again, so my skin is like a little on the fritz. Okay, then I'm gonna go in with a facial oil. This is where the prep really needs to be tailored to fit your skin type. So if you have oily skin, you're gonna want to do your favorite prep steps. This is just a really simple prep for me when I want to make sure that all the products that I put on top of my skin have a nice amount of slickness and they're able to glide and also avoid clinging to dry patches. So I'm just gonna use those to get myself started. I'm gonna take a really subtle all over the base illuminator. This is the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin. This is the shade Cosmic Rose, and I'm just gonna lightly apply this all over my entire base. This is gonna help when we start putting base coverage on. It's just gonna kind of peek out from behind the makeup a little bit, and I like this one because it's probably one of the softest illuminators I have in my collection. So for a day like today where I'm breaking out just a little bit, it's not gonna emphasize texture or kind of bring any raised areas on the base more, you know, forward. And they're not gonna catch the light, but I'm still gonna get that really nice glow from underneath my makeup. I feel like now that it's blended out, you can really tell it's so lovely. It's just really easy to use, really great for textured skin types because it's not going to, again, like just make those look more prominent, but you still get that really nice healthy glow. First thing I like to start off with is concealer and working on some of my problem areas so that when I start doing the other steps, there's a little bit less of this showing underneath the rest of the layers. So I'm gonna use my Kosas Revealer Concealer. This is the shade 6O, and I use this one for spot concealing, any hyperpigmentation, redness, acne, all of that. I wanna go in and just kind of isolate any of these areas where I want to make sure it's looking a little bit better. I'm also going to take a little bit of under eye corrector. So this is from NARS. This is the NARS Night Swan Light Reflecting Under Eye Corrector. So this is gonna go on the shadowiest parts of my eye. I'm really just taking a tiny bit of the product. I'm gonna use it right here because I've got some shadowiness on that inner corner. And then I'm also gonna use a little bit on the outer corner to create some extra lift. press it down. This is definitely one of those looks where a little bit more of like trust the process. It looks a little drastic when you're doing it, but it all ends up coming together. Now that this concealer has had a moment to settle down, I'm gonna just stipple it in place using my concealer brush. For the most part, I wanna try to keep this exactly where I've placed it. We're gonna go in and have to do touch-ups most likely, but this definitely helps lay a little bit of a foundation down so that it's less likely to move. And honestly, think of underpainting as like doing your makeup in a completely rearranged order, or honestly kind of completely backwards. So now we're gonna go in and start contouring to add some definition. So I'm gonna use the Westman Atelier Face Trace. I use the shade Truffle. Swear this is like one of my favorite contours I've ever used. So we're gonna start around the perimeter, and we're going to do this a little bit more dramatic than we normally would because we're gonna put foundation on top. So I'm also gonna contour the cheekbones. I like to do a little bit of a lifted effect, so contouring more at a vertical, and a little bit around the lips. The Makeup by Mario F4 brush to blend this out, and we're gonna try to stipple this as much as we can, again to try to avoid moving the concealer underneath, and just really taking the time to like be a little bit careful with my blending. Honestly, when you're doing the contour on the cheekbones, you more so want to focus on almost blending it slightly upward so that you get that lifted effect versus dragging the cheekbone down. Honestly, for the jaw though, I'm like, you can just do a little bit of swiping action. And then for this contour around the hairline, really try to concentrate on getting it blended into the hairline as seamless as possible because you're trying to create that shadow. Think of like keeping all the light towards the center of the face and really getting that nice almost like ombre effect around the perimeter. She's blending out the nose contour. Mary always uses a really small, kind of fine, precise brush. This is a Luxie 182. I'm using the bigger angle side. Now I'm gonna go in and conceal my under eyes. I'm gonna use the Chanel concealer. I wear the shade BD31. I'm going to apply this right under the eye. And then I'm also gonna take this brightening shade right down the center of the nose, right on the tip of the nose, and anywhere I would also like to add a little bit more lift. Okay, and yet again, give it a moment to settle down and get a little bit tacky so that when you blend it out, it really stays where you've placed it. I'm gonna use that same Zoeva brush that I was using in the first few steps. I really like this for concealer. It's nice and dense. But when I'm doing this blend right underneath my brow bone, what I wanna do is almost like extend it outward towards my hairline so that I get some visible lift right there. We want to brighten up this space to give the illusion of more openness on this part of the face. Be forewarned, this whole entire routine, it's a lot of blending work. It's a lot of, you know, taking the time to get everything look a little bit more perfected. Take your time when you're blending this step out, because we're starting to do a little bit more precision. So like when I'm going down the sides of the nose, this is where I'm gonna start adding the highlight for brightening right down the sides of my nose like this. In fact, I actually feel like I need something a little bit fluffier, so I'm gonna take a Lawless concealer brush, got more of a kitten paw shape. I feel like this will just help blend it out a little bit more, and I definitely am liking this. It's a little bit quicker too. After the concealer step, you can really start seeing the contours become a little bit more prominent because we blended the concealer in that same upward angle. So all these steps will kind of help achieve that like lifted, snatched look. I'm gonna work on my cheek contour just a little bit more to make that a little bit more noticeable. So I'm going back in with my stick, and I'm also going to fix the nose just a little bit more. I feel like I blended out the concealer a little bit too much. And then taking that same Mario brush, I'm using the smaller end of the brush to really push this into my skin and blend it so that it just looks a little bit more airbrushed. But stay away from this area where we've placed the concealer. We really want to keep that lift. I'm also going to take this same angled brush and pick up a little bit of the contour stick and contour right on the edge of my eyelid just to get a little bit of definition right there. Now I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This one's in the shade number 3. This is going to be our actual highlight. So to get this to look as seamless as possible, I'm taking this on the back of my hand. Pick it up on a Tom Ford No. 2 brush. This is really great for cream products. I'm gonna kind of load my brush up with the products, and I'm gonna lightly apply this to the high points of the face wherever I want a little bit more of a concentrated highlight. So I think you get the best result if you start right underneath the corner of your eye, follow right along that bone, and then end right about where the arch of your brow is, versus going this way. This is gonna give you the highlight that catches the light versus the highlight that looks like a stripe on the top of your cheekbone. A little bit on the center of the forehead, down the bridge of the nose, tip of the nose, Cupid's bow, a little bit on the chin as well. I'm gonna use the Hourglass Skin Veil, hydrating skin tint, but it's part of the veil line. I wear the shade number 10. So the trick with this part is you really wanna start off with a super minimal amount of the foundation that you're using, because we're gonna be layering it. And this is gonna go first on all the areas where you haven't yet placed any product. So right around here, underneath the contour, I've got some coverage I need to put there, especially because I still have some bare skin. So we're just gonna apply this right underneath the contour. I think that's the easiest place to start. And we are doing a light, even veil, just super soft. Chin. This brush is really nice for this because it just lightly grazes the skin. And that's basically what you're trying to do. You just want a light amount of coverage everywhere. I'm gonna apply to the center of my forehead. And when I'm blending, I am blending outwards toward that contour. And I am being very gentle with the way that I blend this out. I'm not trying to push onto the skin hard. We're gonna start right on the center of the cheeks to get some coverage. We're gonna lightly blend this towards that contour. You can still see a little bit of texture right here and stuff, but I mean, that's kind of inevitable. I have a face, so. Mary uses cream bronzer most of the time, and if I want to do that, a lot of the times the hyperpigmentation from post-acne marks will show through. So to achieve the same effect that she has, I have to use 2, and it turns out really nice. It's just a little bit of extra work. So I like to start off with the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Liquid Bronzer. This one's in the shade 90. Has a little tincture, and I just drew a couple drops. I'm gonna use the same Mario brush. The reason I really like the Armani one for this technique is because I actually do feel like the Armani Liquid Bronzer has some coverage to it. So it helps negate some of those issues that I have with the hyperpigmentation showing more, and 90 is a really great winter shade for me. So I just lightly stipple this right onto the areas where I want to add a little bit more warmth to this look. So honestly, if you have acne marks like I do, and you want a product that you can get kind of like the same effect as a cream bronzer, but not have to worry so much about hyperpigmentation peeking through, I would definitely suggest this one. It's not similar to the foundation, but it has a lot of the characteristics that I like about the foundation in the bronzer, and especially for like a, you know, skin type that shows dark spots, it works phenomenal. And I go in with a powder bronzer, so I'm gonna use the House Labs one. This is in shade Light Level 3. Use a Dior number 14 brush to apply this. This has a softly luminous finish, but again, I really like this because it's gonna help make sure that wherever I placed the liquid bronzer, it's not gonna lift or start showing my hyperpigmentation from behind it. So I just lightly press this right on top of the liquid bronzers. You always want to take this and run it through the crease of your eye. I also like to take a touch just on the lower lash line as well. I'm also going to take a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury lip cheat. I use this, it's like a perfect mole color. It's Pillow Talk Intense 3. It matches my moles on my face perfectly, and I always like to bring those back to life just so my base looks a little bit more natural. I like to do blush as my last step in this routine, just so it stays exactly where I've placed it. Today I'm gonna use this one from Laura Mercier. It's in the shade Chai. I'm using a Chanel 109 brush to apply it. It's a little contour brush, and I'm just gonna apply Chai lightly. If you wanna end here, this is totally perfect. It's gonna have this really nice glazy finish, and if you wanna keep that glazy finish all day, I would recommend the Hourglass Veil Setting Spray. This is really great, but I wanted to show you what I like to do if I want this to last a little bit longer and just kind of prolong the longevity. So I'll take a little bit of the Huda Banana Bake Powder, or the Huda Easy Bake. It's in the shade Banana Bread. I'm gonna take a clean NARS Yachio brush, because I have 2 of these because I'm obsessed with them. So I'm gonna take 1 more of these, I'm gonna load up my brush, and then right underneath the contour, that's where I'm gonna set. So just pressing the powder in place, especially anywhere where I have like some acne hiding under there, that's where I wanna focus on setting. So I've got a little bit of a breakout right here, a little bit right here, and then I'm also gonna set like right here on the eyes and just lightly buff away any excess powder. If you want that contour on the nose to stay really nice and sharp, take one of these little angled or triangular powder puffs. Pick up a little bit of powder just on the tip, go right down the side of the nose. It looks crazy, but it really works. It'll get that concealer that you use to highlight. It'll keep it there for the duration of your makeup wear. And then same thing, just gonna take that Narziaccio brush, knock off any of the excess. Okay, to finish this off, now I'm gonna go in with a couple sprays of the Hourglass Veil Soft Focus Setting Spray. This is what's gonna get everything looking nice and freshly applied, and also take away any of that powdery look. Okay, so this is the finished underpainting routine. I am obsessed with the way this turns out every single time, and you literally use like a drop of foundation because you've already built coverage using other products. So the skin looks flawless, but also really natural at the same time, like even up close. Okay, I also wanted to show you on the phone just so you could kind of see it from another perspective than just my camera, but look how nice this looks. It's really nice and flawless, but it still looks super natural. And I just love the soft glowy sheen that it has. But like I said, it is also a little bit more of a time consuming process, so definitely reserved for like special occasions or just days where you have a little bit more time and you want to take out all the steps, or if you really want to look good for photos or something like that. I would definitely recommend trying it out and practicing and kind of seeing the way underpainting fits into your routine. But other than that, that's everything I wanted to mention for this video. Let me know any other trends or tutorials that you really want to see videos on. I'll have my other socials linked down below, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching this one. Bye everyone.